Cool. Would everyone like to do a quick intro of who you are, what project you're with, what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I'll start then. Hello, everyone. I'm Neil, founder and CEO of Reddio. So we are a parallel EVM layer 2 powered by decentralized GPU network. Nice to meet you, everyone here.
All right, I'm Ben. I'm Ben Fisch. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Espresso Systems. We're building infrastructure for rollups, L2s, chains to compose.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marco. I'm co-founder of TAC. We just had a few minutes ago a keynote, but it's basically EVM on Ton. So we are letting EVM dApps to run like they are native dApps on Ton. So make it simple for developers to get into the Ton ecosystem and accessing the Ton user base.
I'm Rushi, one of the co-founders of Movement. We're bringing the Move VM to Ethereum and beyond, including potentially Ton.
Thank you, guys. Before we jumped in, I was looking over my questions. We're gonna talk a lot about kind of some of the challenges, the negative sides of the like growing L2 ecosystem, but I wanted to start off with something more positive. So I'd love to hear from you guys, like, what are some wins, in terms of like growth and adoption? What are some wins that the layer 2 ecosystems had over, let's say, the past year?
I mean, if you just look at the transaction volume on the L2 relative to the L1, I mean, it's growing exponentially. We have really achieved cheap transactions, cheap, fast transactions, which is what we set out to do. I mean, there's some downsides as well. There's some infrastructure to be improved, but if you look at also even just the growth of applications and activity on rollups like Base, I mean, it's pretty incredible, and the revenue that they're making, it's inspiring to see.
Yeah, and also from the use case perspective, right, we see more different applications deployed. They used to, blocked by not being able to deploy to Ethereum due to the gas cost, due to this scalability of the layer 1. But with layer 2s, right, there are so many more things you can do. That's where, right, there are market really demanding a higher performance layer 2s right now. But so far, we see just so many applications available right now. Kudos to whatever we have been working on, right? Yeah.
Can I be spicy here?
Please.
Go ahead.
Let's start it off spicy.
Yeah, so I have a background on a layer 2. I used to be co-founder of a layer 2, Linea. Yeah, the spicy take is it bigger the value created by layer 2 or the value extracted from layer 1?
That is spicy. So you're saying are layer 2s, are is layer 1 extracting more than the layer 2s are creating? That the question?
Yeah.
Short term,
Like-
it's extractive. Long term, it's not. Like, yes, today, like every app on Ethereum is going to be launching a layer 2, which means if Uniswap, Aave, Curve, everything launches a layer 2, what's left on Ethereum layer 1? But in long term, ETH as an asset class is used as gas fee, it's used as settlement layer. I can sit here and argue, is that bullish or bearish compared to like Solana and layer 1s? We can go into that, but I think the vision that the roll-up centric roadmap set out to be was like this app chain future where each app, each company can launch their customized rollups, which, like we touched on, makes a lot of money on sequencer fees. We saw Uniswap launch their custom uni chain because they want their own fee generation and bring value back to Uniswap holders. Obviously, there's the Aave chain. My running joke is that Polymarket's doing call it Polychain. Yep.
I would say even far from being extractive, it actually emphasizes the fact that applications are now capturing value, which is a goal rather than a negative thing. So I mean, my take on this whole extractive versus non-extractive debate is that applications should be capturing the value, and L2s allow them to do that.
Yeah, and also when you look at the customer move away from Ethereum initially, right, it's the only reason it was scalability and the gas cost. Now with so many layer 2s, they have a choice.
Yeah.
I think it's actually end of the day, long term, will boost the ecosystem itself.
So you're not scared about fragmentation?
What?
Fragmentation.
Well, there's always work to do, right? So many layer 2s right now. I know there are single company trying to advocate they will be dominant the whole layer 2 ecosystem, which I don't believe so. Hopefully Ethereum Foundation also doesn't believe either, so that we can cooperate together and make sure we are able to natively doing the cross chains other than relying on third party, which basically become everything more messy right now. Long term wise, I'm still positive, but short term, definitely there are a lot of issues. Everyone have to come together and work on that.
So Marco, you had posed this question. It sounds like most of the panel thinks that layer twos are not, being extracted by the layer one. Do you disagree, or are you just posing a hot question?
So again, I don't believe that there is any other scalability approach on to be real mass market other than scaling through layers. I fully agree. But there is a lot of work to do, and the things that I really don't believe is going to be solved. It's the value accrual on the underlying asset.
Value accrual of what?
The value accrual on the underlying asset. So the more layer two will be successful, the more the value will remain into the L2 tokens. And the more value you are going to remove from the ETH token when it comes to the value accrual.
I don't know that it's the L2 token, though. I mean, if you look at the L2 token models of L2s today, it's not clearly capturing the value. It's the applications are capturing the value in the, I mean, if we trend towards every application running its own L2, then it's the execution fees that are being generated by that application that are being captured, right? I mean, we tend to talk about value accrual to tokens a lot in this space, but we forget that the whole point is we're creating infrastructure for application developers. It's the new web, right? And so, of course, you need to have a sustainable model whereby, validators are being rewarded for the economic security that they're contributing to the system, but that doesn't mean that they should be capturing all the value that's created.
Does value accrual matter? Isn't ETH up like 30%, like 20% last week? Like Solana isn't like pumped up fund, dump bunch of Sol every week, and Sol's up like God knows how much, and each Sol BTC is about to hit all-time highs. I'm pretty sure value is accruing. My portfolio is looking pretty damn good. So this value accrual argument I think is non-existent because ultimately markets no speculator is like, oh, Ethereum's like losing X amount of fees to Arbitrum. That means it's not worth asset class. That's not how crypto works. If it moons, it moons.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that, but maybe we should move on.
I know. Actually, I think this is a good conversation about basically where in the stack does value accrue. Marco was kind of saying that the layer one is maybe not accruing enough value. Ben was touching on whether the layer twos accrue. Rushi was kind of saying, well, maybe value accrual is not even the right question to be asking, that these assets maybe have some other way of representing it. Like, how do you guys think about that?
I think it comes back to like my standards, like Manche, right? If you have 1,000 rollups, you have Aave, Uniswap, everyone all using ETH as a gas fee, people will still speculate on ETH because it's still the fundamental currency to power all rollups and all apps. Isn't that value accrual? Is it like people are using ETH to pay for every transaction?
Well, a quick follow up there. A lot of layer twos have made gas abstraction a part of their value props. A lot of applications as well. So if, let's say, right now all these rollups are mostly using ETH for gas, does the value system look different if users start paying gas in USDC, if they start using apps where they don't need to pay gas fees at all?
Actually, that's what we are doing now. We are supporting our own token to be the gas, but at the same time also using ETH as a choice for the users. But right now, only limited wallet actually support this. I'm very surprised. If any audience actually in there are doing the wallet, you should really start to think about it, because to a lot of layer twos, their token has no utility. I can't imagine why the prices go up, right? Maybe people just think about there's a utility there. But long-term wise, for short term, when we observe, right, the users are actually using ETH to make a payment still by default. They have this user behavior there for long term has been there already. But it starts to change. If you see non-EVM kind of landscape, for example, Starknet, they actually support both tokens to make a transaction. And I see an interesting thing happening, like a Stark token being utilized the most when they may talk about gas payment. Maybe because the token has been dropped for the pricing. I don't know. It will be an interesting thing to study how this token price gonna go up and down. But end of the day, you have to put the token into place for utility, or else what's the point, right? And the second thing is, the value for the Ethereum, as I mentioned earlier, it will be still go up because we have to pay ETH when we do the settlement on layer 1. There's no big difference. It's more for our own token to be used. It has to, right?
Well, I don't believe we should imagine too much because we already can see where this will go. Like it's Cosmos. Cosmos is the same, right? Can you?
Yeah, okay.
It's very similar to where we are going. Then of course it is more cool. Yeah, it will go up because it's more cool than Cosmos. I still hold my ETH of my pre-sale, so I will be more than happy for this to happen. I'm
But then
just not seeing as layer 2 are going to accrue value to the ETH underlying token in an organical way. That's my point.
The difference
Value
between-
is split and shared across the stack.
The difference between Ethereum and Cosmos is no one uses Atom. Atom's a meme coin. At least
It-
The
ETH,
It's
difference
cool,
is what?
yeah,
The
of
difference is
course.
what?
Atom's a meme coin. Like no Cosmos layer 1 has ever touched Atom. I can't even remember. No, like I don't even know what Atom is anymore. ETH is still a gas fee for Arbitrum, Optimism, Base,
Yeah.
any major layer 2. And even if you argue like okay, get custom gas tokens, or you'll have like Reddio's producing like their own gas token, you're still paying underlying fee in Ethereum. So if it's $2, you're paying an underlying settlement fee. Any Cosmos chain doesn't pay anything in Atom. It's more like governance.
Yeah, exactly. That's why maybe a lot of layer 2s have their own mascot trying to become a meme coin. I don't know. Just kidding.
Maybe just like bring it back and add a bit more structure here. So like, what is the main question we're trying to answer here?
I think it was just free flow at this point, but I can try to pull things back. We kicked things off with discussing, what were some of the upsides, some of the wins that we've had this year in terms of layer 2's modularity. I wanted to flip that around and say, like, what are the things that are holding back layer 2s from being adopted, from getting users? We've got this great technology. Like, what's stopping everyone from building on the layer 2 or using a layer 2?
Well, I think right now just too many layer 2s right now. And I always come from the point of developer perspective, right? So when developer choose layer 2, there are so many choices right now. They are a little bit lost. I think that's one of the major challenges because they don't know who is the best or who is the right one to use. Just so many right now. When we started to work on that, there's only 2 or 3 layer 2s back then 3 years ago. Now look at that.
Who's they?
Initially,
No, who are you referring to as they?
my what?
Like, are the users, you said, or the developers who?
The developers, I'm talking about developer the most. The users, I think it depends on apps, right? The apps, if apps they already decided which layer 2 they use, then the users has to follow. The key here is actually a developer. And from a developer perspective, they are lost.
So I think there's like two things that are conflated when we say that there's too many L2s. I, by the way, don't think there's too many L2s, and I think what
More
we're touching on
L2.
here is that there's L2 stacks, right? This is the technology through which you can build a layer 2 chain, and then there are actual chains, and within the Optimism ecosystem there could be many chains. Within the Arbitrum ecosystem there could be many chains. So first of all, maybe let's clarify. Are you saying there are too many L2 stacks or are there too many L2 chains?
Too many L2 chains.
Okay.
Because from a developer, they may not understand the underneath technical stack. It takes time for them to understand, right?
No, that's saying there's too many L2 stacks.
Stack not so many, to be honest. There are only few dominant ones.
Well, I think there should be many L2 stacks and many L2 chains.
So
Then they will be even more confused.
It's not about
So I
confusion,
think
okay?
Ben's actually right. I think there's like we want more rollups. We believe in this rule where each app's gonna have their customized block space, customized rollups.
Yeah.
It's your interest to have your own sequencer fees. I'm gonna get in trouble for this, and hopefully no one here is from the Ethereum Foundation.
I actually agree. That's why we have our own technical stack to launch
Yeah,
their app.
Every
chain.
other stack is too much,
Be-
but my stack's okay.
Yeah, because when
Small
they have
stack.
the choice, they can make a value proposition right. Right now, it's just too unique. Everyone is using the same thing. The only difference is the user base or the customer developer base.
Look, I think the fundamental issue isn't that there's too much rollup stacks or rollups. It's that the settlement layer is misguided, and that's going to cause me trouble. We saw the Ethereum roadmap yesterday or 2 days ago. 7 years for this proposal. 7 years. In 7 years, if Ethereum goes down this roadmap, Solana, Sui, and whatever the hell comes up, the 500 layer ones that come up, will simply kick ass. So the main issue isn't that there's more rollups. We want more rollups. We want every app to have their customized block space. The roadmap we set out for was the original vision. We're accomplishing that. Base is phenomenal. Uniswap chain is phenomenal. But when you go down a roadmap where it's like, oh wait, we might actually need to optimize L1. Oh wait, holy shit, let's undo everything we just done. We're gonna die.
So why are we saying that we need to optimize the L1 though? So there need to be many L2 chains because that's the point of L2s. It enables horizontal scalability. You know, every time you add an application to the Ethereum system as a whole, which I believe encompasses both the L1 and the L2, you're now not burdening the existing servers with additional work. You can add new servers that do that work and make it cheap for everyone else to verify. So horizontal scalability, scaling out computation means that there are going to be many chains, right? Otherwise, if there were too few chains, then you would hit the same scaling box on those chains.
Yeah.
Let me just
Let
add
Ben
one thing,
finish.
which is the fundamental question, right, of this whole scaling space is how do you scale out while retaining the composability of applications across different chains, because that is what makes Web3 Web3. Right? What differentiates Web3 from Web2 and everything before is the fact that we can all trust one singular system, one singular virtual machine, and that enables you know, explosive innovation. It enables people who haven't, you know, coordinated at all to deploy applications that then other people can use as Lego blocks to build new applications. And so your question was, what is the main thing that we need to solve to make the space better, right? I think we have achieved scalability, right? The technology that is power scalability is even getting better by the year. ZK proofs are getting faster, etc. That's on a path to just continuing to improve. The thing that we need to get right is how we achieve composability while retaining scalability at the same time.
And I will also add removing some of the fragmentation, because like composability is the big part of the fragmentation when it comes
Well,
to,
that's what I mean, yeah, generally speaking.
but you also need removing fragmentation when it comes to the mind share of the people.
What does that mean?
It means on the wallet level, it means on the user level. You know, like I want to have my ETH on Linea and be able to use dApps that are deployed on Base. And as a developer, it doesn't change anything if I deploy on Base or on Optimism, you know, because that means removing the fragmentation.
Just like more abstracting it from the
Yeah.
user. Yeah. So we want composability among chains, meaning that the applications on the chains can interact with each other the same way that they could interact on Ethereum L1. But we also then, I mean, that's on the back end, right? On the front end, we want to create more abstractions for users so they don't have to think about what L2 they're on.
That's also
Yeah.
connecting back to what I was saying about the accruing value. Like when people today use, I don't want to mention any specific app on any specific network, but yeah, when people use an app on a layer 2, they mention that they are using a layer 2. They are not mentioning that they are using it. You know, so even this narrative about scaling Ethereum through layer 2, but these are external entities. These are not perceived as Ethereum. It also removes value from the underlying ETH token.
When you use Amazon.com, you don't mention you're using AWS. You're just using it.
Well, when I buy on Amazon, I buy on Amazon, independently on the fact that I'm buying on the marketplace or I'm buying Amazon Basics.
Whoever supplies Amazon.com and funds Amazon.com is still sitting in Cabo with a nice mansion right now. There's still there's a lot of revenue coming back. So even if it's not Ethereum mentioned constantly, as long as all rollups are using and powered by rollups, it's still winning. I would say this comes into Ben, it's probably a question for you. Is Ethereum L1 roll composability performance?
Yeah, I think I just want to add on, right? If you think about the mass adoption for database, MySQL was the initial one. And later on, there are companies build the MySQL can automatically scale. The developer do not need to care anything about scalability. That's where the developers start to use. At the end of the day, the EVM become the MySQL. And there are abstraction layers like the database I mentioned can automatically scale for layer 2s for developers may win end of the day. But who gonna be that person? I don't know yet. Hopefully one of the panelists.
I wanted to touch on the question that Rushi was raising there of,
Yeah.
what role does Ethereum play? I think this is like a Ethereum itself, the Ethereum community. We're all here in Colombia, and I think there's a lot of questions about, does the Ethereum layer 1 need to be more like Solana, or we need to like juice up the execution layer? Is it going to be kind of more of an interoperability layer, like you were getting at? Like, Ben, I'm curious your thoughts there.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be my personal perspective, and I've said this, on panels before, that I think what makes Ethereum so different from other communities is the fact that it's not one protocol, and it's more of a community. It's the biggest community in Web3. I mean, these other communities, they're not as much communities. They're like protocols that people then build upon. It's always what set aside Ethereum. It's set aside Ethereum from the Bitcoin community, set aside Ethereum from Solana. And yes, it dilutes what the meaning of the L1 is. I mean, look, the L1, it's a protocol. It's Gasper. It's this. It does one specific thing. It runs consensus, and even the EVM itself, like you don't really think of it as part of the L1. It happens to have one copy of the of the EVM.
All being mentioned.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And so like saying, oh, the L1 should, be optimized for composability, or, oh, the L1 should, the reality is that the L1 doesn't do those things today. And the easiest way, I think somebody doesn't like what I'm saying.
Try to silence you. Solana. Go ahead.
It was Vitalik. So I think that the point of Ethereum is that it's a switch. Little switch. Okay. The point of Ethereum is that it's a community. It also ETH has value and can be used to economically back protocols, not just the consensus protocol that the L1 runs today, but also other protocols that are created, right? And this is the concept of restaking. So if we want to build infrastructure that supports L2s, that doesn't need to be done by the L1. We can allow the L1 to continue to do what it does today, which is running consensus and maintaining like a really, really robust live consensus protocol that can be used for verifying proofs that L2s post, and also perhaps data availability if they implement dank sharding. But we can build other protocols that borrows from the economic security of Ethereum and is just architected to do new things like achieve composability between L2s or other things like that.
Ben, I think you dodged a question.
What was the question?
What does Ethereum need to work on to win?
What does Ethereum need to work? What Ethereum needs to work on to win is
Moderator now, by the way.
what?
Moderator now.
You're the moderator. What Ethereum needs to do to win is embrace the fact that what makes Ethereum different from every other ecosystem is how many teams are innovating within that space and working together. And that's what makes Ethereum greater than every other ecosystem. It's what it will enable it to outpace these other systems. The mindset that, oh, Ethereum needs to build everything into the layer 1 is going to set it back.
I disagree.
Beautiful.
I think you're correct, actually. Ethereum has the best researchers, the best collective mind of growth. We've seen that in the last 5
Best
years.
diversity, I would say. Nobody talks about that, but no one has the diversity of
And it's delivered through bear and bull markets multiple times. But now we need to consolidate and what does Ethereum need to do in the next 3 years to win? It can't be performance, because you're going to get your ass kicked. It needs to be composability, because the role... Someone's trying to silence me too.
I see. Okay.
So all these roll-ups, Base is fucking crushing it. Uniswap's crushing it. These all teams are the best teams in the space. Ethereum's job is to glue them together and make the user experience not shit. If it focuses on L1, it's fundamentally saying fuck you to Base and not focusing on its clients and customers, which are me, it's David, maybe Espresso launching L2, Reddio. We are Ethereum's customers. Their job is to glue me to David, me to Reddio, me to Espresso's chain. I think Espresso's trying to do this.
Agree.
So this whole concept of Ethereum should focus on L1 performance is stupid because it's competing against us.
But what you give back to it?
I'm using it. Some use it for gas fees. So I pay ETH when I swap, let's say, your token to ETH. You're paying a fee, and that fee is for composability, not performance.
Okay, what will be the far future? All DeFi dApps on it goes on their own layer 2. That's the vision, right? So it will have from 90 billion TVL will go to 0 billion TVL. what will be the impact on the value of it, and what will be the impact of the security of the network?
But it's not going to go to zero TVL. There's other, like, just because Unichain launches, Uniswap still has a deployment on ETH L1. There's still going to be volume through there. Yes, Uniswap will focus on Unichain, but there'll still be ETH as TVL. As even after all this rollups, Ethereum still has the most amount of TVL.
So basically, we should tell DeFi Llama to pitch the Ethereum TVL as the sum of all the Ethereum layer 2.
TVL is also screwed metric, as we all know.
Yeah.
To kind of keep moving on, I mean, we've touched a
I'll shut
bit.
up now.
All good, all good. We touched a bit on Unichain. I think a few people have brought that up. I think that's been one of the clear stories of adoption of layer 2s in the past year. This is probably one of the first, it's probably not the first roll app, but probably going to be the largest roll app. What do you think we can learn from, from the launch of Unichain, from the direction that, that Uniswap Labs has taken with it, and from some of the technology that they've released with Unichain?
Fast finality. Ben, you want to talk about this one?
Sure, yeah. Well, I mean, Unichain isn't really live yet. It's more of an announcement of a plan. So, but I do like some of the design principles that it reflects. It talks about, the importance of having some kind of way of confirming transactions fast that's not just reliant on the security of one node, which is what most rollups have today. I think what's really interesting about, at least when I've talked to Hayden, and others at Unichain, I mean they very much recognize the importance of composability, and the fact that you shouldn't necessarily even have copies of tokens on every chain. You shouldn't even necessarily need to be able to bridge tokens between different chains. You can have Unichain manage balances of assets wherever they live. If you have seamless message passing between chains, then you don't actually need to bridge assets between chains, and that's sort of a vision that they sort of agree with. I think they do think that it will make a lot of sense for many assets to live directly on Unichain, because Unichain is supposed to concentrate liquidity, and I think we do want to build infrastructure that allows this to happen, that allows there to be a best chain for DeFi liquidity. That could be the Unichain. For there to be a best chain for NFTs, for there to be a best chain for different applications, and less differentiation just by technology, more differentiation by specialization.
Yeah, it actually, I think it's good, like they do this move for their own benefit. But this move, if become a trend, it actually worries me. Think about a company who owns so much assets, but they're controlled assets on their own hand. What will happen for a decentralized apps? And Vitaly talked about the DYDX accident. When the DYDX Star EX chain was down, the users able to withdraw the assets back to Ethereum. That's okay, because the whole stack is owned by Stackware, not DYDX themselves. They can't do anything bad because the user have the way to escape from the layer 2s. It's kind of third party controlling where the money can go. But now with everyone doing their own layer 2, and it's a centralized layer 2, a centralized database, they actually control your own assets. Your key actually doesn't belong to you anymore, even though you have your key. That's, to me, is ridiculous how the industry is moving. But I hope there are some third-party solutions can abstract that layer out, so that they still do whatever they can do on their blockchain, but on the security layer can be, parked outside, maybe done by Eclipse. I don't know.
Well, a rollup that does not implement SK patch, it means that it's a work in progress rollup. So your key should be controlling your asset regarding of the fact that they are on layer 1, layer 2. To your question, I think that the biggest value added for Unichain that they are really tackling right now is the vertical integration.
So what?
Vertical integration.
Vertical.
They go from the wallet to the use case to managing the user onboarding, now to validating transaction and sharing back fees with the users, and giving a utility to the Uni token that goes outside of the pure governance. This vertical integration is really killing factor for me. It's a great move. That brings a lot to the uni holder, but again, in my opinion, removes something from the ETH.
You think more and more layer twos will do the same type of vertical integration? They'll try to do kind of.
Well, it was like when I was on Linea, it was our vision basically, right? This vertical integration between MetaMask, Linea, Besu, Infura, and all the stack. Not the application side, general purpose layer, but the vertical integration idea was already there, of course.
Rushi, any thoughts on new chain?
Yeah, I think the fast finality, like Ben touched on, me and Jill went back and forth on this. Like, what does fast finality mean? I got called out for being a side chain for fast finality. Then Uniswap did it 3 weeks later, and everyone's like, "Oh wow, it's a L roll up now." The thesis is like sometimes you don't need L1 security, right? If you're like trading a $10 meme coin, it's okay accepting Uniswap token or Move token or whatever token security. Presumably, these tokens, like Uniswap token, is a pretty good token. It has good economic security per se, right? So if you're trading like a meme coin or like a tap game, you don't need to wait for L1 finality. Take the L2 finality. If you're moving $1 million worth of Circle or Tether, sure, take L1 finality. You probably want to wait for that. But I would say the majority of use cases, especially when like you can argue that a lot of use cases today are meme coins and like small trading, you don't need to always wait for L1 finality. So I think I'm finally grateful to see that you don't like the whole 7-day withdrawal thing and like the whole spend a lot for ZK proofs kind of norm is getting kicked away, and now we have alternative design metrics where people are okay accepting, hey, it's okay for not that much economic security. Like Unitoken is good enough for some transactions. So if I'm doing a swap on Uniswap, it's $10. I don't need to wait for L1 security because it's only $10. I can take Uniswap security. But if I'm moving a $10 million TWAP on Uniswap, sure, I'll wait for L1 security. So the optionality is nice, and hopefully no more side chain slander.
Awesome. Oh,
I just want to add one thing to that. Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think one of the things about L1 finality and the L1 in general as a thing that confirms transactions is that it's something everyone can trust, right? It brings everyone together, brings all L2s together, right? All the L2s are built around it. And so the one, I think, shortcoming of chains vertically integrating though, and of course I'm biased here because we're building a confirmation layer that everyone can use, but the shortcoming of chains building their own, more secure, fast finality layers, that it's still for that chain's full nodes and only that chain's full nodes, and it's sort of building trust within their own full nodes, but it's not building trust across the industry. I mean, the players who really depend on fast finality are, for example, solvers who want to get paid on one chain and pay someone on a different chain, right? And so if the nice thing about L1 finality is like everyone can trust it, right? All the different solvers in the ecosystem, if they see that the L1 has confirmed a transaction on one chain, then they know they can pay someone on the other. And yeah, that takes a long time. So we should be building towards systems that give faster finality than the L1 by the design of those systems, but are still something that is universally used by all the L2s, and it's not vertically integrated into the L2s themselves.
that's kind of the take against the vertical integration, I guess.
Use Espresso.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Use Ben's back.
Exactly.
We're getting close to time, but I couldn't do a panel like this without touching on a favorite topic of the EVM versus alt VMs. We've got
Baby.
2 projects on the stage doing EVM rollups. We've got Rushi and I guess myself kind of in the alt VM side, and I guess Ben is the neutral party. But what's your guys' take in the expanding world of layer 2s? How much is the EVM going to stay dominant? How much are we going to see like competing execution layers?
If I can. To me, it's not you cannot generalize this topic. Like in our case now, for example, the TVM, the TON VM, it's an alt VM. And it's here since a while already. It was introduced quite a while ago. But still, it's very complex. It's difficult to grasp. It's difficult. There's a big learning curve for developer coming from Solidity, for example. So in our case, we found a lot of interest and a lot of space of value that we can create by bringing EVM on TON. There are some other VMs that are extremely easier for developers. Move. So adoption is much easier in that case. So you cannot just discriminate you are EVM or not EVM. That's it. No, it really depends from case by case and from really the use case you are trying to tackle here.
Yeah, look, my stance is simple. EVM is PHP. The best like Aave, Uniswap, Curve fork, use it on Solidity, use it on Base. We're not really optimizing for that. I think like you look at Solana today and the shit's being built on there is like crazy, right? You have like the top deepen projects, you have the top AI companies all building on SVM, now MoveVM and alternative VMs. Thesis is the EVM is a pile of dog shit. It's very, very slow. It's $4.5 billion lost every year. There's always gonna be a place for it, just like there's always a place for PHP apps. But Rust-based programming is a JavaScript Web3. It's high throughput. It's very secure with Move form verification. Right now, there's $3 billion on Move-based chains and 0 hacks to date. Knock on wood. And I think generally the performant future is in alternative VMs. While you'll still have legacy software, which is like Aave, Uniswap, still leveraging EVM. So I think the future is you'll have both. But the app that my mom uses, that your mom uses, and our families use won't be on the EVM.
If you had one thing to compliment about the EVM, what would it be?
Same thing as say a Bitcoin script. It started things, right? Like the EVM started blockchain programming, right? Just like how like Haskell was cool for some time and like PHP was cool for some time. But then over time, people were like, oh wait, this shit sucks. I've never been a Solidity developer that was like, damn, I can't wait to write Solidity today. I think Nick Dotson loves to bring this up. Nick's here somewhere.
Yeah,
one last-
actually. Go ahead.
I just wanted to know what apps does your mom use?
Well, like my mom doesn't use any crypto apps, which is why the EVM's been around for 7 years, and like, unfortunately, she doesn't.
Well, actually, I want to add on because we do both sides. We used to work for Starknet ecosystem, help Starknet launch their own layer 2, layer 3, which is Carol and Rust based. Then we switched to parallel EVM because we listen to developers. The developer, in the most of the time, still choose Solidity. I'm also teaching at NTU for blockchain scalability. Listen to a lot of students learning. That's where they start to learn everything. And the developer working on layer 2, not on another layer 1. That's where EVM compatible to a lot of developers really makes sense. But doesn't mean there won't be an opportunity coming out for another language. I don't talk about different EVM from a programming language perspective. I talk about from a database perspective. You think about MySQL, there's a PostgreSQL. And then you scale for database. I can imagine there's another language, maybe better designed for VMs, ZK VMs, will come out and dominate, become another standard and protocol, other than each ZK VM have their own programming language. Like, Carol become a Rust, but it's not Rust at all, right? But there should be a standard. Someone can really come out and start to do something like that. I know Move is trying to do that, but everyone else is trying to do their own, right? So hopefully there's another language or database can come out at the interface, abstraction layer, so that developer do not need to choose, do not learn again. Yeah.
Well, I think like if you go to college, you'll learn Java when you first learn, Web 2. But then when you grow up and get a job at Facebook, they're like, oh wait, don't use Java, don't use C++, use like JavaScript, build a website, build an app. So like, sure, when you go to like intro to crypto class, you learn Solidity. But then when you actually want to build a big boy app, you use the SVM and MoveVM, which is like React and Vue and JavaScript. You can wait like 3 years to deploy and ship a Solidity app, or you can go to market in a month with actually a cool, sick, high throughput app. So I think the point you made originally, where it's like, oh, we still learn Solidity, makes no sense because there's 20,000 Solidity developers in the world. There are more developers at Facebook today than all of crypto.
There is a point.
Go ahead.
There is a point that it makes a bit different. This analogy, it's the network effect.
20,000 developers, not network effect.
No, but what is existing in terms of liquidity? What is existing in terms of use cases, composability? If you are able to actually abstract this complexity and make a MoveVM being able to build on top of a Unipool, I fully agree with you. But until then, I believe that the network effect will play different.
Obvious on Move.
I think we might have to.
They're cutting me off. They're silencing
The EVM debate will continue for quite some time, just like I think the I don't know, maybe the PHP debate might be settled, but you know, programming languages will be debated forever. I want to thank you guys for a very, very fun conversation. We got a lot of good spicy takes in here, and thank you guys so much for joining us.